Moving on, Brazil's far-right former president Jair Bolsonaro has denied any involvement in an alleged coup plot as he took the stand for the first time in his high-stakes trial. The 70-year-old has been answering questions from lawyers and judges on his alleged role in what's being described as a criminal organisation that plotted to wrest power from Lula da Silva, who narrowly beat Bolsonaro at the ballot box back in 2022. Well, for more, let's cross live now to France 24's Tim Vickery. Tim, you've been following proceedings for us there today as we saw Bolsonaro has taken the stand. What exactly did he have to say?
Well, as you said, he denied the charges against him, but he did confess that after the election, he studied a number of ways, he says, inside the Constitution to overturn the election result. So we're a little bit here in the terrain of semantics. Now, the allegation of the prosecution is that the attempted coup d'etat began over a year before the election when Lula became a candidate. Lula, who won the elections at the end of 2022. And stage number one was the perceived need on the part of Bolsonaro to attack the integrity of the electoral system to give a pretext for overturning the results. Stage number two is putting pressure on the armed forces to join into such a plan. Now, so far, both one and two would seem to be fairly well proved by these proceedings. Stage number three is the attempted insurrection in Brasilia on the 8th of January. Here, it's a little bit more difficult to prove direct involvement from Bolsonaro because he'd made sure that he was out of the country. He was in the United States at the time, and he is reiterating that he had no contact with those people who were involved in insurrectional activities, and he actually described them as a bunch of crazies in today's hearing. So as it stands, Bolsonaro has certainly on that charge, there doesn't seem to be a smoking gun with his involvement in the insurrection on January the 8th, but his attacks on the electoral system, which have already made him ineligible to be a candidate in next year's elections, and he reiterated those attacks in the hearing today, and also pressure being put on armed forces members, conversations with high-level armed forces members, looking at a way to overturn the election results. This would seem to be not very solid ground for the future of Jair Bolsonaro. The judgment there's been a huge push to try and get this done quickly in order not to affect next year's election year. And things have gone at speed. Almost all of the defendants have now been heard. There will be at least 2 weeks for lawyers to make final considerations. The legal system goes into recess in July, but we could well get a final judgment in August.
And Tim, he faces a very lengthy sentence if he is convicted at the end of all this. Just the coup conviction alone carries a sentence of up to 12 years. As you say, this coming ahead of the presidential election. So how is this trial being viewed there in Brazil?
Well, I think Bolsonaro's, I don't think he anticipates victory in this particular round. And the most important thing for him will be next year's elections. And if a supporter of his were to win those elections, he would then hope for a pardon. But part of the whole impetus to conclude these hearings with due process, there is a strong memory of the rather arbitrary manner in which Lula was imprisoned and subsequently freed because the judge in question had obviously been biased and was later revealed as a right-wing activist and Bolsonaro's justice minister. So that there has been an obsession with trying to follow due process, but also an obsession to try and get this done quickly in order to minimize this as an election issue in 2026. But for Bolsonaro, the results of those elections will be very, very important indeed.
Tim, for now, thank you so much for all of that. That's our correspondent in Rio, Tim Vickery.